Welcome, seekers of inner wisdom. I'm really glad you dropped by. Stick around, because today we're pulling back the curtain on 3 of Carl Jung's most powerful archetypes, the persona, the shadow, and the self, and showing you how recognizing them can help you steer your decisions, calm your worries, and live with far more intention. Let me run something by you. Ever sensed a mysterious tug inside, as if an unseen part of you were quietly calling the shots? If that rings a bell, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your take. Have you ever felt like there's a stranger living inside you, driving your choices, whispering doubts, or pushing you towards something you can't quite name? Perhaps you've felt a subtle resistance to a path you thought you wanted, or an inexplicable pull towards something utterly unconventional. What if I told you that this inner stranger isn't a flaw, but a powerful, ancient force, one of the fundamental energies Carl Jung called archetypes? These aren't just abstract ideas or dusty theories from old psychology books. They are living patterns, universal symbols, and primal images residing in the deepest layers of your collective unconscious. Think of them as the inherited wisdom of humanity, the emotional and behavioral templates passed down through countless generations, shaping the very fabric of your personality and guiding the grand narrative of your life. Imagine them as the core programming within your soul, the ancient operating system that influences everything from who you fall in love with to the career paths you choose, from the masks you wear in public to the deepest fears you bury in the quiet corners of your heart. Most people walk through life entirely unaware of these archetypal currents, swept along by forces they don't understand, wondering why they repeat the same patterns or why certain desires feel so overwhelmingly potent, almost fated. They might describe it as just how I am, or my lot in life, without recognizing the deeper, symbolic forces at play. But what if you could learn to recognize these foundational influences? What if understanding them wasn't just an intellectual exercise, a clever trick of the mind, but the key to unlocking your authentic power, to truly knowing who you are beyond the surface-level identity you present to the world? Carl Jung, the visionary Swiss psychologist, didn't just study the individual mind, he mapped the soul itself, revealing a psychic landscape far vaster and more intricate than previously conceived. He showed us that beneath our personal stories, our unique biographies, lies a vast, shared tapestry of human experience, woven from these archetypal threads. Consider for a moment how myths and fairy tales from vastly different cultures often share strikingly similar characters and plot lines. The hero's journey, the wise old sage, the deceptive trickster, the nurturing mother. These universal patterns are echoes of the archetypes resonating through the collective unconscious. And once you begin to see them in yourself and in others, the world transforms. You stop reacting blindly to perceived provocations and start responding from a place of conscious awareness. You stop judging your inner turmoil and begin to understand it as a sacred invitation to profound self-discovery and ultimate wholeness. Today, we're not just going to talk about theory. We're going to explore 3 specific, fundamental Jungian archetypes that are actively shaping your reality right now. We'll uncover how they manifest in your daily life, how they can lead you astray, and how, by consciously engaging with them, you can reclaim your narrative and step into the truest, most integrated version of yourself. Are you ready to dive into the very architecture of your being, to understand why you feel what you feel, why you react the way you do, and what your soul is truly yearning to express beyond the noise of everyday demands. This isn't just psychology. This is a guide to becoming the author of your own epic journey, a journey back to the essential, untouched wisdom within. It's an odyssey into the self, where every challenge becomes a clue and every insight a compass heading. Have you ever walked into a room, maybe a new job interview, a first date, or a formal gathering, and instantly felt yourself shift? Your voice subtly changes pitch, your posture adjusts, a different kind of smile appears, and suddenly you're a slightly different person. Perhaps you're the impeccably confident professional at work, effortlessly articulating complex ideas, or the easygoing, witty friend at happy hour, brimming with laughter and casual charm, or the dutiful, respectful child at a family gathering, carefully choosing words and actions. Each version feels undeniably real in the moment, yet after a while, none of them feel entirely you. This isn't hypocrisy, it's the subtle, often unconscious dance of the persona the first archetype will unravel. Carl Jung defined the persona as the mask we wear, the social personality we present to the world. It's derived from the Latin word for an actor's mask, emphasizing its role in the theatrical performance of life. It's the carefully curated image designed to make a particular impression, to fit in, to gain acceptance, to secure a role, or to fulfill the expectations of others. Think of it as your public relations manager, always striving to present the most acceptable, functional, and socially desirable version of you. And it's absolutely essential, isn't it? Without some form of persona, navigating the intricate web of society would be chaotic, filled with constant friction. You need to be able to interact professionally, politely, and predictably, adhering to social norms that allow for cooperation and cohesion. A surgeon needs to embody competence and calm, regardless of personal anxieties. A teacher needs to project authority and empathy. These are all functions of a healthy persona. But here's where the complication arises. What happens when the mask becomes so ingrained, so convincing, so deeply fused with your sense of self, that you start to forget who you are beneath it? Do you ever feel a quiet exhaustion, a persistent sense of disconnect, as if you're constantly performing a role rather than simply being? Maybe you've perfected a smile that doesn't quite reach your eyes, or mastered the art of agreeable nodding when your inner voice screams dissent. The persona, when over-identified with, can become a gilded cage, a beautiful but suffocating prison. You might find yourself trapped in a role that no longer serves your deepest truth, bound by expectations that aren't truly yours, living a life that looks impressive from the outside but feels hollow within. Perhaps you pursued a demanding career because it looked good on paper, offered prestige, or garnered approval from your family, despite a quiet yearning for a more creative or independent path. Or you maintained relationships out of obligation, fear of loneliness, or a desire to uphold a certain image, all because your persona dictated that this was the right or expected thing to do. This isn't just about external pressures. It's about the internal conflict that arises when your authentic self, your deeper yearnings, are continually suppressed, muted, or denied for the sake of maintaining the mask. Perhaps you know the feeling of a gnawing emptiness, a subtle melancholy, even when everything looks perfect on the outside. The ideal job, the perfect partner, the enviable lifestyle. That's often the soul whispering, a gentle, then insistent, reminder that the character you're playing no longer fits the real you, that the script you're following isn't your own. Jung understood that we project our persona onto the world, presenting a chosen facade, but we also introject the world's expectations into our persona. It's a two-way street, a constant negotiation. If you're not careful, the street signs can become entirely external, dictated by societal trends, peer pressure, or ancestral expectations. You stop asking, what do I truly want for myself? What resonates with my spirit? And start asking, what does the world expect of me? What will make me seem acceptable, successful, or desirable? This leads to a life lived on someone else's terms, a life that feels hollow, even if outwardly successful. Is your current success story a reflection of your soul's authentic desire, or your persona's carefully constructed image of what success should look like? Do you ever feel like you're talking at people rather than to them, because you're so busy maintaining a facade, managing perceptions, or protecting a carefully built identity? This detachment from your core self can lead to chronic anxiety, a profound sense of alienation, and a creeping realization that you've lost touch with your genuine passions and desires. The key isn't to abolish the persona. That would be impossible and undesirable, making social interaction incredibly difficult, but to recognize it for what it is, a functional tool, a necessary interface for navigating the complexities of human society, not your ultimate identity. The task is to ensure it serves you, the authentic individual, not the other way around. To dance with the mask, to don it consciously when needed, rather than letting it become your entire reality, your very skin. But how do you begin to shed the layers, to reclaim your essence? When the mask has been worn for so long, it feels indistinguishable from your true face. This is where the deeper work truly begins, the sacred process of confronting what lies beneath the polite smiles and agreeable nods. What part of your public face feels like a constraint rather than a convenience? Share your thoughts below if you feel comfortable. Now, imagine a hidden room within you, not one you visit often, perhaps one you've sealed off with heavy, velvet curtains. This room is filled with everything you've ever denied about yourself. Not just the obvious flaws you'd rather keep hidden, but also the raw power, the wild impulses, the unacceptable emotions, unchecked anger, gnawing jealousy, primal selfishness, or even unbridled ambition. But crucially, this room also contains astonishing treasures: your creative genius, your untapped courage, your fierce independence, your capacity for profound joy or uninhibited expression. This is the realm of the shadow, the second and often most confronting archetype. Carl Jung described the shadow as the unconscious, repressed, and undeveloped aspects of the personality. It's not inherently evil, a monstrous entity lurking in the dark, but it contains everything that the ego, our conscious self, has rejected because it doesn't fit the ideal image we want to project, our persona, or because society, family, or even religion has deemed it bad, unworthy, or dangerous. For instance, a child constantly praised for being good and obedient might repress their natural spontaneity or rebellious spirit into the shadow. A person taught that anger is bad might push their healthy boundaries and assertive energy into this hidden domain. Do you ever find yourself intensely irritated, disproportionately offended, or vehemently critical of a specific trait in someone else? Perhaps their arrogance, their sloppiness, their perceived laziness, their neediness, or their boisterousness? Jung would gently suggest that this intense reaction is often a clue, a potent signpost pointing directly back to your own unacknowledged shadow. We tend to project our unintegrated shadow onto others, seeing in them what we refuse to see in ourselves. The person who constantly criticizes others for being too emotional might be suppressing their own deep well of feeling, their own vulnerability. The one who despises lazy people might secretly yearn for rest, permission to slow down, or resent their own inability to relax. The individual who rails against narcissists might be denying their own healthy need for recognition or their own hidden desires for influence. This isn't about blaming others. It's about using those uncomfortable reflections as opportunities for radical self-awareness, transforming external judgment into internal inquiry. But, as mentioned, the shadow isn't just about our dark or undesirable side. It also holds our undeveloped potential, our dormant talents, and the vibrant parts of us that were never given space to bloom or were actively discouraged. Think of the sensitive child who was told they were too dramatic or too emotional. Those vibrant, expressive energies often get pushed into the shadow, only to manifest later as a quiet fear of speaking up, an inability to express genuine emotion, or a creative block. The unexpressed artist, the unacknowledged leader, the silenced poet, all reside here. The process of integrating the shadow isn't about becoming perfect or morally superior. It's about becoming whole, complete, and authentic. It's about consciously acknowledging and accepting these disowned parts, bringing them out of the darkness of the unconscious and into the light of awareness, so they can be consciously managed and expressed constructively, rather than erupting unpredictably. Can you recall a time when you experienced an unexpected burst of emotion, perhaps anger, fear, or profound sadness, that felt out of character for you? Often, these are the shadow at play, demanding attention. It's like a disobedient child screaming for recognition. If you don't listen, if you continue to ignore or suppress it, it will find louder, more disruptive ways to get your attention, often through impulsive actions, self-sabotaging behaviors, or even physical symptoms. It might manifest as sudden outbursts of irrational anger, inexplicable anxieties that seem to come from nowhere, a chronic sense of feeling stuck or blocked, or even patterns of addiction. The shadow holds tremendous, raw energy. When it's repressed, that energy is bound, locked away, unavailable to you, causing internal friction. But when you begin to integrate it, to look honestly at the parts of yourself you've disowned, that vital energy is liberated. It becomes fuel for creativity, for courage, for authentic self-expression, for setting healthy boundaries, or for pursuing passions with newfound vigor. This is where the real work begins to feel uncomfortable, even daunting. It's far easier to live in the light, to focus on our perceived strengths, our admirable qualities, and our achievements. But Jung wisely warned, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This involves facing uncomfortable truths, sitting with feelings of shame, fear, resentment, or inadequacy, and understanding their origins without judgment. Can you think of a time you felt a sudden surge of jealousy you tried to wave away as unspiritual or unacceptable? These moments are not failures. They are profound invitations. Instead of pushing them away, can you pause and ask, what is this emotion trying to tell me about myself? What need is unmet? What boundary is being crossed? What unexpressed desire is lurking here? Perhaps the jealousy is a longing for something you deny yourself, or the anger is a healthy boundary that desperately needs to be set, or a creative urge that needs expression. This brave confrontation of your unseen mirror is not about wallowing in negativity. It's about reclaiming your entire being, both its perceived flaws and its hidden strengths. It's the journey from a fragmented self, constantly at war with its own nature, to a more unified, powerful, and truly authentic individual. It's the moment you stop fighting yourself and start embracing your full, messy, magnificent humanity. What fears are you still letting dictate your choices? What buried talents or authentic impulses are waiting for you to unearth them? The shadow doesn't vanish. It integrates, becoming a source of strength, wisdom, and vitality, rather than a hidden wellspring of self-sabotage and internal conflict. But to truly access this potential, you must be willing to walk into the darkness with courage and an open heart, trusting that light awaits on the other side. After shedding the rigid mask of the persona and bravely embracing the complexities and hidden treasures of the shadow, where does that leave you? It leaves you poised on the threshold of a profound discovery, ready to encounter the most overarching and unifying archetype of all, the self. Carl Jung regarded the self not as the ego, your conscious personality, the I that navigates daily life, but as the totality of the psyche, the regulating center of the entire personality that encompasses both conscious and unconscious aspects. It is your inner compass, your guiding star, the deepest blueprint of your inherent wholeness, often symbolized by mandalas or the Christ figure. Think of the ego as the captain of a small boat, diligently navigating the surface of the ocean, charting courses and avoiding storms, while the self is the vast, intelligent ocean itself, connected to all currents, all depths, all life, holding infinite potential. The ego is merely the conscious interface of a much grander reality. The journey toward realizing, integrating, and living from the self is what Jung called individuation, the lifelong, natural, and innate process of becoming a unified, whole, and unique individual. This isn't about becoming selfish or isolated, retreating from the world into solitary contemplation. It's about becoming profoundly integrated, authentically aligned, and deeply connected to your inner truth, which paradoxically leads to a more meaningful and resonant connection with the collective, with others, and with the world. When you are truly yourself, you serve humanity in the most authentic way. Can you remember a moment of uncanny synchronicity, like a friend calling the instant you thought of them? A sudden, unexpected phone call from someone you were just thinking about after years of no contact. A book falling open to a page that perfectly answers your unspoken question, a seemingly random encounter that unlocks a crucial path, or a series of coincidences that feel too precise, too meaningful, to be mere chance. Jung believed these were not random occurrences, but rather a causal connecting principles, meaningful patterns, manifestations of the self communicating with the conscious mind, subtly nudging you along your path of individuation. The self speaks not always in words, not in logical directives, but in symbols, dreams, intuitions, and these deeply meaningful coincidences that feel like a cosmic wink. It's the quiet knowing that arises from within, the subtle pull that feels inherently right, true, and resonant, even if it defies logic or conventional wisdom. This is the deepest form of motivation, a soul-led movement that transcends egoic desires for status, approval, external success, or material gain. When you're aligned with the self, your actions don't come from a place of should, or have to, or ought to. They emerge from a vibrant, inner yes, a deep sense of alignment and resonance that makes effort feel effortless. Do you ever feel a quiet yearning for something more? Something that current achievements, relationships, or external validations don't quite fulfill? That yearning is often the self calling you home, inviting you to move beyond the confines of your well-crafted persona and the limitations imposed by your unacknowledged shadow. It's the gentle tug towards your authentic purpose, your unique contribution, your truest expression. The path to individuation is not a linear one, neatly plotted and predictable. It's often messy, disorienting, and requires immense courage, patience, and a willingness to surrender to the unknown. It involves confronting illusions, letting go of outdated identities that no longer serve, and sitting in the liminal space of not knowing or uncertainty. This is the death before rebirth described in so many ancient myths and spiritual traditions across cultures. The moment the caterpillar dissolves into goo inside the cocoon before emerging as a magnificent butterfly. During this phase, you might feel unmotivated in the traditional sense, as the old fuel of ego-driven striving burns out. There might be a sense of being lost, a spiritual desert. But this pause, this void, is sacred. It's the psyche recalibrating, dismantling old structures, preparing to live from a deeper, more sustainable, and authentic source. Consider a time you may have felt a profound loss of direction, a sense of emptiness after a significant life event or a powerful spiritual insight. This isn't a failure. It's the self subtly dismantling structures, beliefs, or patterns that no longer serve your true evolution. It's an invitation to listen to a different kind of motivation, one that comes from resonance, from deep inner knowing, not from external striving or societal pressure. When the self begins to lead, life shifts from a frantic, often exhausting, pursuit of happiness to a graceful, meaningful dance with purpose. You don't chase clarity, you recognize it when it arrives, like dawn breaking over a misty landscape. You don't strive for authenticity, you embody it naturally, effortlessly. You start to notice what Carl Jung called the symbolic life, where ordinary moments become imbued with profound meaning, where your dreams offer guiding wisdom, and where your gut feelings become your most reliable compass. This doesn't mean life becomes problem-free or perpetually blissful. You will still encounter challenges, grief, confusion, and hardship. But the constant sense of inner betrayal, the feeling of dragging yourself through a life that doesn't fit, begins to dissolve. Instead, you're drawn to create even when no one is watching. You learn to say no to opportunities that look good on paper, promise status, or offer security, but feel misaligned with your inner truth. You prioritize peace over performance, curiosity over checklists, and genuine connection over superficial accolades. This is the new fuel. Alignment. It's not adrenaline-fueled striving. It's soul-powered expansion. It leads you to serve, to heal, to build, to love. Because you should, but because your entire being says a resounding, authentic yes. What is your inner compass pointing towards right now? Even if you're afraid to look at the destination. What quiet nudges, what subtle synchronicities are you ignoring or dismissing? The self is calling you to a life that is not just lived, but deeply experienced, where every challenge becomes a stepping stone towards greater wholeness, and every moment holds the potential for profound transformation. This fundamental shift is not just about understanding archetypes, it's about living them consciously, courageously, and with an open heart. Later tonight, if it feels right, jot down any odd coincidences you notice this week. You might be surprised how the self leaves breadcrumb clues. Before we move on, picture yourself 6 months from now. What would true inner alignment actually feel like in an ordinary Tuesday? Let me know in the comments if a specific scene pops into your mind. So, you've glimpsed the persona, the intricate mask you wear to navigate the world's myriad expectations. You've felt the stirrings and potentially uncomfortable whispers of the shadow, the powerful hidden aspects you've denied or repressed, and you've begun to sense the gentle, unwavering guidance of the self, the unifying force that ceaselessly yearns for your ultimate wholeness and full expression. This isn't merely an academic exercise, a fascinating intellectual concept to ponder over coffee. It's an invitation to a living, breathing transformation, a dynamic process that reshapes your very being. The journey of understanding these archetypes is, at its core, the journey of becoming radically honest with yourself. An honesty that strips away pretense and confronts discomfort. It's realizing that the chronic anxiety you feel might not just be stress, but the persona cracking, begging for authenticity, yearning for you to drop the act. It's seeing that the intense rage or bitter judgment you direct outward is often your own unintegrated shadow demanding attention, desperate to be acknowledged and channeled. And it's recognizing that the quiet, persistent pull towards a certain path, a specific person, a particular creative endeavor, or a profound inner exploration, is the self whispering your unique destiny, your soul's blueprint for true fulfillment. Carl Jung didn't offer a quick fix or a simple formula for instantaneous happiness. Instead, he presented a profound map of the soul, a complex, intricate, and deeply challenging path to self-realization, a lifelong process known as individuation. And here's the often unspoken truth. Once you consciously begin this journey, there's no turning back to comfortable ignorance. You can't unsee what you've seen about yourself. You can't unfeel what you've felt about your inner landscape. The discomfort that often arises on this path comes not from the journey itself, but from resisting the natural unfolding of these archetypal energies within you, from clinging to old ways of being that no longer serve your evolving self. Think about how much energy you expend trying to maintain a perfect image, or suppress an inconvenient truth, or ignore a persistent inner calling that feels too risky to pursue. Imagine what would be possible, what creative power would be unleashed, if that immense energy were liberated, directed instead toward conscious creation, authentic living, and genuine connection. The process of individuation, of becoming the integrated self, is indeed a lifelong undertaking. It means embracing your inherent contradictions, holding space for both your illuminating light and your instructive shadow, and understanding that even your greatest struggles, your deepest periods of confusion or pain, are sacred invitations for growth, catalysts for profound change. When you finally stop fighting yourself, when you surrender to the timeless wisdom of your inner compass, you unlock a profound resilience, an inner stability that external circumstances can never shake. You learn to trust your intuition more deeply, to understand the symbolic language of your dreams, and to recognize the profound symbolism embedded in your everyday life. This isn't about escaping reality or transcending human experience. It's about fully entering it, fully living it, with eyes wide open, with a heart fully engaged. You don't just exist, you resonate with the very pulse of life. You don't just react to external stimuli, you respond from a place of deep inner knowing, anchored in your authentic core. What would it truly feel like to know yourself so completely, not just as a collection of roles and reactions, but as a vast, powerful, and deeply interconnected being guided by an ancient, unwavering inner wisdom? Now, with this understanding, you have a potent choice. Will you continue to let these powerful archetypal currents operate unconsciously, pulling you in directions you don't fully understand, repeating patterns that keep you stuck in cycles of unfulfillment or frustration? Or will you bravely step into conscious awareness, becoming an active, intentional participant in your own evolution, the conscious co-creator of your destiny? Reclaiming your narrative means acknowledging the persona you present to the world, not to abolish it entirely, but to ensure it aligns harmoniously with your deepest truth, becoming a flexible tool rather than a rigid prison. It means courageously facing your shadow, not to condemn it or wallow in its perceived darkness, but to integrate its raw power, reclaim its hidden gifts, and transform its destructive potential into constructive energy. And it means surrendering to the self, allowing your inner compass to guide you, to illuminate your unique path, even when the journey is uncertain, unconventional, or demands courage in the face of the unknown. This profound journey is not about achieving perfection, an elusive and ultimately unsatisfying goal. It's about cultivating radical wholeness. It's about building a compassionate, authentic relationship with the full spectrum of who you are. The light and the dark, the conscious and the unconscious, the divine and the human. When you honor these archetypal forces within you, when you actively engage with them, your life ceases to be a series of random events and becomes a meaningful unfolding, a grand, epic story written by your deepest, truest self. You stop seeking constant validation from the outside world and begin to radiate authenticity and genuine presence from within. You find purpose not primarily in what you achieve externally, but in who you become internally, a unified, integrated, and fully alive individual. Do you truly feel ready to strip away the layers of societal expectations, to embrace your messy, magnificent humanity, to let your authentic essence shine through, unburdened and unmasked? This is the profound invitation being extended to you. It's about understanding that your struggles aren't punishments. They are often initiations, tests designed to forge your resilience and deepen your self-knowledge. Your discomfort isn't a sign of failure. It's a symptom of growth, a signal that old structures are breaking down to make way for new life. And your deepest longings aren't random desires. They are profound whispers from the self, guiding you towards your unique destiny, your sacred purpose, your most authentic expression. This is the profound, liberating power of Carl Jung's work. It liberates you from the illusion of being a small, fragmented individual, buffeted by external forces, and reconnects you to the vast, archetypal currents that flow through all of humanity, uniting us in our shared human experience. It transforms your life from a reactive existence into a conscious creation, guided by the timeless wisdom that resides within you, accessible at any moment. This isn't just about knowing who you are. It's about embracing all that you are and allowing that integrated wholeness to powerfully shape your becoming. What small, brave step can you take today to listen more closely to your inner compass? What piece of your shadow is longing to be seen, embraced, and integrated into your conscious awareness? The moment you ask, the journey truly begins. Thank you for journeying with me into the depths of the psyche today. May you find strength, clarity, and boundless wisdom in recognizing these ancient patterns within yourself, using them as a sacred map to navigate your own extraordinary path of individuation. If this exploration resonated with your soul, if it sparked a flicker of recognition or curiosity, please consider liking this video, sharing it with someone who might need to hear this powerful message, and subscribing to our channel for more insights into the hidden wisdom that shapes our lives. We'd love to hear your reflections on which archetype resonated most with you today. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below.